Hi, I am Life Coach Patricia Booker with Kingdom Business, where we are empowered, where we heal, we get delivered, and we get free. We know who we are. We elevate our minds and our spirits and raise and expand our consciousness to ultimately walk in our true divine purpose. That is the truth of who God created us to be. And so, in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about the toxicity in yourself. Thank you all for viewing my videos. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you to all who donate to my channel. I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. And so, back to the toxicity in yourself. And this does not have to be a negative thing. Yet, if you are not able to recognize the toxicity in yourself, you're not able to do anything about it. So, we all are able, well, maybe not all of us, but for the most part, we're able to identify negative traits, negative characteristics, negative behavior, toxic traits, toxic behavior, and all those things in other people. We're able to identify toxic people. Well, although it is necessary, especially when you're on a journey and you're walking a path of positivity, working to ascend and be your higher, moving your higher self, and walking in purpose in your Christ consciousness, those things, growing, healing, evolving, ascending, transcending. When you're on that path and on that journey, you are able to identify these things in others or in situations. You are able to identify toxicity. And if you aren't, you learn to. So, while that is necessary, very necessary for your journey, so you can know how to navigate around those people, you have to be able to identify them so you'll know how to navigate around them. You also need to be able to identify toxicity within yourself. The fact of the matter is, most of us has some toxicity in us, some toxic behaviors, some toxic thinking, some toxic ways. And I say most of us because I don't never like to say everybody, because it's not true. Everybody doesn't. Some people are way transcended and ascended beyond some of the issues that we still work through. And that's just the truth of the matter. But again, if we're on this journey, and anytime we are healing through things or working through issues, whether they be childhood issues or whatever, even if you're not working through them, because many people unfortunately think they don't have anything going on with them, yet everything that they've walked through, everything that they live has affected them in some kind of a way. And if you had some unpleasant and or traumatic experiences, it has affected you in an adverse way and has caused you to have some toxic behaviors, traits, and characteristics. Yeah. So the thing is, when you are able to identify that, it's so much more better for you, because it helps you to get to where you're ultimately trying to go, or I would like to say where God is taking you. And so again, it's important to be able to identify these things in other people, so you again can know how to navigate, so you'll know who to let in your space. Now, just because someone has some toxic traits or characteristics doesn't mean that you can't have anything to do with them. You have to be able to discern, whether those traits or characteristics are detrimental for you and your health and your well-being. If they don't resonate with who you are as a person and someone that you would like to be, that you choose to be in relationship with, whether it be a friend, a lover, a mate, a relative, or whatever it is, business associate, just because they have toxic behavior or traits does not mean that you are not able to interact with them. Now, if it's a problem for you, and or sometimes it clashes against whatever you have going on, and you have a hard time being able to come to some common ground and work through it, together, individually as well as together, then that may be a situation or relationship you may want to refrain from entertaining. And so, um, the idea in that sense is that the other party is aware of their traits, whether they're in self-awareness, they're able to identify these things on their own, and or if you are able to point out things to them in a loving manner and they are receptive to them. And so I'm saying that to say, if a person is working through those things, are able to identify them, acknowledge them, and work to them, then you might can continue a relationship with them. As they kind of say, it takes two. You can't be the only one doing the work, and this other person is just still being toxic, so to speak. You have to work together on these things, which means working with yourself individually and being understanding and supportive of one another as each other works through those things as well. And so, in all that, you have to, like I said, recognize the toxicity within yourself. Because to identify it in others and not be able to identify it within yourself does not make you fruitful. Not in a good way. Not in a good, fruitful way. And so, I like to say, just because this is like with addicts, so to speak. Maybe someone is a drug addict, someone is an alcoholic. I like to say, just because you are able to identify it and acknowledge that's what it is, don't mean you have to hang out in there. In other words, you recognize it for what it is and you move into solution so that you can recover from that and no longer be that you have once identified. And so it makes me think of someone that shared with me, someone that they knew, that they met around this time, and they would say, my name is, let's say, John, and I'm bipolar. And this person said they will always mention their bipolar as if it was their identity. And I thought it was funny. And so, that is how they identified themselves, as bipolar. I know that's a negative trait to identify with, but ego will have you do that. People do identify with that's their, I wouldn't call it a negative trait, but in this case, we know that that's a mental illness. Yet in mental illnesses, if you do the work and get the proper help and do what you need and work through it, you can be okay. That thing don't have to overtake you or rule you in your life. And so that kind of goes hand in hand with what I'm saying about toxic behavior. But the point that I was making was to say that you can identify something, recognize this is what it is, acknowledge it, and move into doing the work so you won't continue to be that. And usually it's some deep-rooted issues. Many times it's some deep-rooted issue that can stem all the way from childhood. Sometimes it's even generational. And of course, we know it comes from experiences that we have throughout life and the way they affect us. But again, if you can identify it, acknowledge that it is, you can work through it. So it is important for you to identify your own toxic behavior. What good is it to identify everybody else's, but not your own? You're still the same. But you know, you're pointing out and can see others. And I want to say this too. Many of the times, seeing the toxicity in others can help you see your own. I have to say, that's what I've experienced. I've seen things in others that made me look at myself and be like, oh, when I do this, that's what I be doing, what they doing. And so it helps me to see my own self. And they say many times others are a reflection of us. That's not always the case identically, where they're a reflection of us identically, because as you know, light attracts darkness. So just because you're attracting darkness don't mean you're dark, even though you may have some dark areas within you, but you're working through them by shining the light on them, on it. See? So again, identify your own toxic behavior and traits and characteristics. Work through them, because that's the most important thing. Work through it. It's there for you to work through. Where it ain't there for you, where it is there for you to work through. You know, not that you necessarily asked for it, but in some ways, on some level, you did, because your soul did. Your soul gives you everything that you asked for. We complain about and fuss about a lot that our soul asks for, and our soul is really our higher self. So our soul knew what we needed, but our human fleshly self fight and don't like things because it's unpleasant. But it's designed to help us to grow and evolve, transcend unseen, develop, rise into our highest selves, walk in our purpose, the truth of who God created us to be. It's designed to empower us. So we have to do that with it. So I encourage you to identify your own toxic behavior. And again, it's not to beat yourself up, because something happened to many of us. A lot has happened to many of us. If we're walking this earth, we've experienced some things that have affected us, and not always good. And so it causes certain things in us to act out, so to speak. You know, we take on certain characteristics, traits. We are work in progress. We are masterpieces, yet a work in progress. We are work in progress, yet a masterpiece, all at the same time. So while we know who we are in God, God is still doing the work, which means we have to let the work be done. We have to identify and then swiftly move into solution, whether that be healing, whether that be, most times it is healing, you know. And how you do that is it's an abundance of information out here that can help you with that. I personally, I do read different things, self-help, but I honestly, and I look at a lot of different things, you know, it's like I said, it's a lot out here to help you. Yet I'm not big on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 formula. Do this, do this, do this, do this. Yes, it can work. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but there's always those gushy areas. And I say to that, and because of that, maybe not completely, but I say that ultimately you have to allow God to lead you, allow the Holy Spirit to lead you, allow your intuition to lead you. It will show you what you need to know. It will help guide you to what it is you need to do, how you need to overcome certain things. And sometimes your own inner man, your God self, God himself, the Holy Spirit is giving you things that you haven't even heard of from anywhere else. So I encourage you to, yes, research, get all the information you can to help you with whatever those toxic behaviors that you have are, those toxic traits, if you want to recover and overcome them. Do all that you can to learn about them, to get all the information you can to help you to overcome it. But also, and above all, get guidance and counsel and direction from God. Let him show you and lead the way. Trust your God self. Trust your intuition. And it will lead you exactly where you're supposed to be every time, without fail. And that's a promise. And so, anyway, you guys, I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you again for viewing my videos. Thank you again for subscribing to my channel and for donating to my channel. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please also click on that red subscribe button and subscribe to my channel. Click on that bell right next to that red subscribe button so that you can get a notification every time I upload a new video. You can also connect with me on Facebook and Instagram at Latricia Booker, and on Twitter at Kingdom Business 9. That is Kingdom Business with one S and the number 9. And so you all, that is my time. So you know, I am out. Peace.